Baseline gonna make man shatter. Baseline gonna make man shatter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to League Racing TV here for, that is us, says round number one. Oop, that is my apologies right there, guys. No, it's not round number one, it is round number 4 of the Esports Masters League Championship here in Season 7 as we take in the Jeddah circuit. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action. And we are in for a absolutely incredible race here tonight. And there we go. We got that sorted. Now we got that sorted. There we go. It now says Jeddah on it. We got there in the end, guys. We got it in the end. But yeah, coming through now for tier 2 here tonight. Of course, it is just myself here tonight, so we'll do our best to bring you the action. But let's have a little look at the track in question. Of course, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here in Jeddah, 6.1 kilometers, 3.8 miles in length, 27 corners with 3 DRS zones, 1 down in towards turn number 1, 1 down in towards turn number 2, and of course 1 down towards the final corner on the circuit at the hairpin at turn number 7. A lot of high speed and medium speed corners, definitely going to be one to keep an eye out on, whereas the walls are ever enclosing around this circuit, so a high chance of potential safety cars, front wings growing off, and of course a little bit of spice as we generally do get around here. Of course, very, very interesting overtaking opportunities. Of course, you got the turn 1 braking zone, which is probably the most ideal place to get an overtake done. You can get a good run out of turn 3 on the run down into turn number 4. Not ideally a place to go side by side there though, as you really would be looking at turn 13 for the next overtaking opportunity. And of course, you have the advantage of a DRS down in towards turn number 22 and of course turn number 27, and they will be the key areas to look out for overtaking opportunities around this circuit. Of course, looking at the driver lineup we have here tonight, it is of course Zico and Matuz there for TGF. LRN coming through with Dylan and Casper for them. IRT coming through with Nick and Fleddy. A good strong lineup there for IRT. FGE coming through with Mr. Chris Boo and of course Weasel, who we have of course commentated on many times in the past, and we know his pace very well. ERT coming through with Dutch Trickies and of course ERT Casper. EVR coming through with Ipswich Tekka and of course EVR Kevins. OVR coming through with Nico and Dream there, as I probably absolutely butchered his name right there, and I do apologize if I have. Jerem? Is it Dream or is it Jerem? We will find out. We will find out, guys. AMS coming through with Ward and Luca here tonight. Of course, DLX coming through with Alberto and Kalu Blue. And then, of course, CRE coming through with Hopes. And, of course, Marlborough. Honestly, that is just going to trigger my Welsh. That is going to trigger my Welsh accent coming through. Oh, God. When I see that, I absolutely go on to the Welsh sayings and everything. It is not good, guys. It is not good. Durham. Okay, so we have confirmation in the chat there from James Head, who will of course be taking you through tier 1 action in a little bit. Of course, scheduled for 8 p.m. Marlborough. I know James. I know James, but the thing is what's called the ICH. It triggers like the way I pronounce it if I was speaking Welsh. But yeah, moving away from my terrible pronunciation, let's have a look at the standings here coming in tonight. Of course, False Group Esports lead the way on 98 points, 4 points clear of IRT Esports there in second place. There's a good strong showing between the top two thus far. OVR currently in P3 on 86 points, so very close between the top 3. And of course we have ERT in 4th on 64 points. CRE in 5th on 61 points. 50 points apiece for the team in P6 in TGF. And of course 7th place DRT. And then of course we got LRN in 8th place on 45 points for them. Evolution Racing Team there in 9th place on 44 points. And of course we got Alien Motorsport there at the back, at the tail of the standings. They're on 25 points, but a big opportunity here tonight for all these drivers to get themselves some very, very strong points out there on track. Of course, guys, qualifying is about to get underway, so we'll transfer over to the action here as we have just gone to green flag conditions here in qualifying. Who will be the first driver out on track to set a hot lap here around the Jeddah circuit? It's nice seeing you struggle, James. I'm always struggling with names. You know this. You know this, James. Okay, so we got the first group of drivers heading out on the track right now, and we're going to see who's going to be the first man who will lead the way. I believe it might be, no, it's not Chris. Let's have a little look here, get all the telemetry up that we need. Oh, it is Mr. Chris, actually. It is Mr. Chris Abu who will be the first man to get us underway here in qualifying at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix as he comes through turn 13 right now. A very key overtaking opportunity there at turn 13, as you can take various lines through that corner which can provide you with a good exit, or it could absolutely destroy your exit altogether. And of course, coming on to the DRS straight, where we're going to see also a lot of overtaking action, a long run all the way down to the next braking zone of turn 22. And of course, the fast chicane, and that is something that we're going to be seeing a little bit too often, I think, is the invalidation. But we're going to go on board for a full lap here with Mr. Chris. So let's go ahead and let's exit the final corner as we head down the start-finish straight to begin the first qualifying lap here of the session. Mr. Chris Boy is going to run down now, DRS wide open in towards turn number 1, braking around 100 meters out, kissing the inside curve in there through 1, mounting the inside curve at turn 2, and getting good exit there as we run down in towards turn number 4. Now this sequence of corners is all about the rhythm. It's very easy to get knocked out the rhythm through these S's. You need to carry a good speed through. You need your lines absolutely spot on. And Mr. Chris Boo has done very well there indeed. First sector split coming up. It's a 31.8 in the first sector. As fourth gear, the gear of choice there for Mr. Chris as we come through turn number 13. Good on the exit there for Chris as he runs up now towards the chicane, and it's all going to be valid. Yes, it is. And that is good going there from Chris as we are going to open DRS again for the second time on this lap as we run down towards the next braking zone at turn 22. 102 as he has gone absolutely way too deep there through 22, and that is an invalidation there for Chris. But we're going to stay on board with him just to see what kind of lap time he would have set. Obviously, he definitely would have gained a bit of time by cutting the chicane the way he did, but Mr. Chris Blue to the line, and he's actually going to peel off into the pits, and no, he's actually going to set the lap. Mr. Chris Blue 27.4, of course invalidated, and you could probably say a few tenths quicker than what he probably would have done, as IRT Nick there absolutely smashing his lap, as Fleddy with a 27.3 is an IRT front row lockout right now, as both IRT lads up there. The only two to set lap times thus far, as we got Alain Dillon coming through the final sector right now, as you see more times coming in from Durham and of course Ipswich Techers there, both on 27s, but they're in the .9s. What can Dillon do though? Coming through the final corner now is LRN Dillon as he comes up to the line. Is it going to be comparable with the IRT lads? Time will tell. And he also pops on to a 27.9 right there. And his teammate Casper, the only man thus far in the 28. AMS Lucas now coming through turn 13. He's on a flying up. Of course, everyone on a set of soft compound tyres, and strategy is going to be very interesting around here. So far on this game cycle, oh, as we got a big moment there from Lucas, getting caught on the curve just a little bit too much. Very well controlled to make sure that he does not lose the car there. And that could have been heartbreaking there for Lucas if he didn't have that all hooked up. He has done a 1 minute .9 in the middle sector, so it's not going to be up there with the likes of Freddy and Nick, but it will be a time on the board frame, which is what you'll be looking for. As I was going to say though, in terms of the strategy, of course, on this game cycle, I have seen a few strategies work. I have seen, obviously, the hards and the mediums being used. I've even seen a soft medium do pretty decent around here. So it's going to be interesting to see what tyre compound everyone goes for. It's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen in terms of the pit stop strategies and everyone obviously being in the multiplayer cars, not knowing who your teammates are in the pit lane. As we got Madu's coming to the line, and he does a 27.7 right there. Zico is a little bit off. What about Calabu to the line? 28.5 for him, as we got 12 times on the board right now. The only one really not competitive right now, I believe, is of course this one from Dutch Trickies, and of course I think he had a bit of a moment on his lap as Nico is just getting his lap, and the way we just had a time coming through, and I believe that was from Zico, if I'm not mistaken, coming up late into P8. But we're coming on board with OVR Nico right now, coming through the first sector. It's a 32 flat from him, so a little bit off of what we saw from Fleddy and Nick earlier on in the session. And we got just over 11 minutes to go here in qualifying. And right now it is an IRT front row lockout, and I know Bumbier in the chat will 100% be thrilled with what he's seeing thus far. .4 in the middle sector, so again just a couple of attempts off the IRT lands, but this will be good to put him up there. Probably at the worst at the moment, looking around a P5 I'm going to say right now, but let's see if he gains any time in the final sector. Nico to the line, is it going to be P5, is it going to be P4? To the line he'll come, and it's going to be P4 right there. Call me Mystic Mike here today. It did look like it was going to be P5 or P4, but someone who did just get P5 is CRE Hops, as he pops up there into P5 there with a 27.7, just 7 thousandths or a second ahead of TGF Matsu. As we just had EVR Kevin's going up there into P5 as well. He's also on the 0.7, but an improvement there from him. Leddy on his lap. We're going to stay on board with the IRT man here as he comes through turn number 4, through 5 now, into 6, and of course through turn 7, turn 8, into turn 9, 10, and of course through 11 and 12. And the run down now in towards turn number 13. He is up on his first sector split, and he's the man on provisional pole right now. He is improving the gap on the rest of the field right now as he comes through the chicane of, I believe, 16 and 17 as we are about to enter the second DRS zone, which of course will run all the way down to the braking for turn 22. And he's 2 attempts up. Oh, he keeps it just within the limits here, does Freddy. It did look like he carried a lot of speed on entry, but he's able to keep it hooked up there through 22 and 23. But now the run down to the final braking zone of the circuit. He is 2 attempts up on his previous lap time. This is looking like a 0.1. Could it be a 27 flat? And he needs an improvement because Chris Boo has just gone on provisional pole, but Fleddy there improves his lap time. It's a 27.1 for him. Nick though unable to improve on his time as he's invalidated, and he was almost 3 tenths up, so he definitely is looking very competitive with his own teammate Chris Boulow up into P2 onto the front row, splitting the two IRT lads as Wizzle there unable to improve on his lap time as well, also due to an invalidation on his lap. Dylan on a lap right now, currently in P11. He is improving 2 tenths up thus far. In fact, 3.5 tenths up as he throws the car through turns 22 and 23. And now the run down for the final break in here at turn 27. Will it be a big gain here for Dylan? It's looking like it'll be a good game from him thus far, but that is not what he wants. A big snap at the rear on the exit of the final corner, losing a bit of traction, lighting up the rear tyres, and it's going to be P5. Honestly, I think without that snap at the end, he would have been P4, potentially could have done enough to maybe get close with next time. So that just shows the margin for error on the circuit like Jeddah is definitely very, very slim. Currently on board with we are Nico right now, who's on his out lap. In fact, is anyone on a flying lap right now? Yes, someone is on a flying lap, and that is of course TGF Matsus, as he is coming through the first sector, throwing the car through the SS. Very close to the inside wall there was Matsus as he comes to the first sector split. He is over half a tenth up in the first sector, so it is an improvement from him thus far. Very tight on the inside line there through turn 13 as he opens the car up on the exit and tries to get the best run possible towards the chicane of 16 and 70. Running down now to the middle sector split, and of course the next braking zone at 22, and he is over a tenth up on his previous lap time. This is looking good so far from the TGF man as he comes down to the final braking zone. He is going to climb some positions. Will it be enough to get him up into P4 though? That is the big question. He is well over a tenth up on his lap time in the middle sector, but as he found more time, he has lost a little bit of time, but still good enough for P4 by 1,000th of a second ahead of Weasel there in P5. As we jump on board with Nico, you saw there in the top right, he was a 10th up on his lap time, and he's still a 10th up in the middle sector, but that was a little bit of a touch on the inside wall. That definitely would have cost him just a little bit of time there for Nico as he runs down now to the final corner. DRS wide open for him as he looks to potentially try and get himself up into P4, but that little touch on the wall potentially could have cost him massively as he runs through now towards the line. And he does improve, so he does go up into P4, does Nico, so that little nudge on the wall didn't compromise him as much as I would have thought. And we got Nordic Ninja in the chat. How's it going, Nordic Ninja? How are you doing? Jerem coming through now towards the end of his lap. Not quite sure if he's up on his time, but he is still giving it the full. Oh, I see. Has a big snap on the exit, the final corner, and yet he's into the pit. Possibly front wing damage there for him and losing a lot of time by nudging the wall. We've got just under 4 minutes to go here in qualifying. It's currently Fleddy out on top for IRT, and then of course we got Mr. Chris Boo there who joins them on the front row. We're on a 27.1. For some reason 2 bars of battery have gone that quick. Can you believe it, guys? I definitely cannot. But yeah, Mr. Chris Boo is currently on the front row, sharing that with Fleddy. As Nick, we saw him obviously invalidate his lap, and he was 3 tenths up on his time, near enough, and he definitely got time out this. We'll see what he's able to do. Fleddy's out on track right now, but he invalidated his run. So I'm assuming Fleddy will come into the pits and put on a fresh set of boots and head back out himself. Marlboro is going to get his... I was going to say he was going to get his lap underway, because it looked like he was saving up the battery to go for a lap, but into the pits he goes. He's got just enough time to come back out, I think, as does Fleddy, as we've got 2.5 minutes remaining in the session. Oh, Mr. Chris Boo on his outlap right now. He won't be the first man to start his final run, but he is the man currently on the front row and a protagonist here for pole position in Jeddah. So we're going to see what he can do as he comes down towards the final corner. Going to make sure he's got enough temperature in those tyres to make sure that he can set the best lap time possible. Chris Boo gets his lap underway, and I don't think Fleddy and Mulber are going to be able to get out in time. In fact, Fleddy is on his way out of the pit lane right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. He might just about have enough time, but if he has to get out of the way of people on a hot lap, he definitely won't be able to set a lap in time to my knowledge of this circuit. But on board with Mr. Chris Boo coming through Sector 1 right now. Let's see what the first sector split is in. He's over a 10th lap in Sector 1. This is now threatening pole position for Fleddy. And Fleddy right now, we're not sure if he's going to be able to get his lap in before the checker flag falls in this session. This is very smooth from Mr. Chris Boo right now as he comes down to the middle sector split, and the DRS wide open on the run down into turn 22. And the 10.5 lap is Mr. Chris, and he just about keeps it within track limits there. There's Mr. Chris, and now down to the final corner here. Mr. Chris is on course for provisional pole position. Will he be able to take it though? That will be a different question entirely, as Zico has retired from the session. Looks like he's clipped the wall there through turns 4 and 5. And Mr. Chris Boo does take provisional pole position away ahead of Fleddy, and I don't think Fleddy's going to have enough time. And we're actually going to wait and see, does Fleddy have enough time? I think he will just about. Fleddy to the line. He's just about starting his lap, and I don't think Mora is going to be able to get his lap underway. Yep, the checker flag is out for him, as we got Nick on a lap right now. Hopes, I believe it's just finished his lap. He improved, he's up on the P3, but Nick, there's a little tap on the inside wall there from my RT Nick. I did look like it. We'll come back on board with Nick at a later stage in his lap. As we're running through right now, we're trying to look at the drivers coming towards the end of the lap here. 2 tenths up for Jerome. Checker flag is out in this session, and in fact 4.5 tenths up right now for Jerome, as he is going to fly towards the line. This will be a big improvement for him, gets him up ahead of Nick if he continues with this pace. As more drivers take the checkered flag, will there be any last minute improvement? Big improvements right now. Oh, we are looking for a big improvement. Up to P4 goes Jerome. And Nico's improving by 2 tenths as well. Nico to the line. Is it going to be an improvement for him? Nick did improve, but not in position. As Nico, provisional pole for him, as he goes up onto a 27.1, and Fleddy has invalidated his lap. It's all over for him. And I think that is the end of the qualifying session. Ladies and gentlemen, what a close fight it was at the end. And Mazuz gets up there in the P4 as well, also on a 27.1. So the top four all getting into the point ones. Absolutely fantastic. But it is this man, OVR Nico, who takes pole position here in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. It is Nico on pole position ahead of Mr. Chris Boo, who will join him on the front row. And Fleddy, the man who had pole position for so long in this session, has to settle for P3 and starting behind on the second row. But let's run you through the order one more time. It is OVR Nico with the pole position there, 15 thousandths of a second ahead of Mr. Chris Boo, who joins him on the front row. And then of course we got Fleddy there in P3. Mansour's there in P4 with Hopes in P5. Jerome there in P6 with Malva in P7. Nick in P8. Dutch Tricks in P9. And of course we know they run at the top 10. Outside the top 10 we have Dylan, Kevin's, Lucas, Ipswich Seggers, Alberto, Casper, and then of course we've got ERT Casper, Zico, Wards, and Colo Blue there. And I believe what will be happening right now is of course the restart of the lobby. So what we'll do is go to a quick intermission while we get the new lobby started, and then of course we will be right back. So bear with us guys, we will be back in just a moment's time.
Baseline gonna make man shut up. Baseline gonna make man shatter. Baseline gonna make man shatter.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again for what is going to be a very intriguing race here around Jeddah. Again, let's have a little look at the circuit in question around the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix across 27 corners. 6.1 kilometers, 3.8 miles in length, 3 DRS zones, one down at turn 22, one at turn 27, and of course one at turn number 1. Of course, we just saw a fantastic qualifying session which saw the top 4 separated by just over 600ths of a second. It was 62 thousandths of a second between first and fourth. Of course, it was OVR Nico who did take pole position ahead of Mr. Chris Boo, who will join him on the front row. Fleddy was in P3 with Matzuz in P4. Of course, those drivers very, very close in terms of the qualifying times. And of course, to everyone who is now in the lobby, I would just like to quickly remind everyone to make sure you remember to load your setups. Load your setups, guys. Do not do what I've done in the past and forget to load the setup, because it can be absolutely horrendous around a circuit like this. Of course, the Jeddah circuit is a very fast flowing circuit, and of course one where we probably will be seeing a safety car of some sort here tonight. Very high chance of front wing being lost, very high chance of an incident or two, especially when battling side by side through that entire first sector. Hopefully, though, everyone will be keeping it nice, clean, calm, and collected, as we're going to have a quick reminder of the standings, as it is FGE leading the way on 98 points, 4 points ahead of IRT Esports there in P2, with OVR in P3 on 86 points. 64 points for ERT Elite Racing Team, as CRE on 61 points in 5th place. 50 points apiece for Team G-Force, and of course Deluxe Racing Team in 6th and 7th place respectively. LRN Esports in 8th place on 45 points. 44 points for Evolution Racing Team in 9th place. And of course Alien Motorsport, they're in 10th place on 25 points. And as I mentioned earlier, big opportunity for them to gain some good points around here at Jeddah. Again, a quick reminder of the drivers here tonight. Of course, for the teams at the top of the championship, of course, we have FGE's Mr. Chris Boo, and of course Weasel there. And then of course for IRT we have Nick and Fleddy. For OVR we have Nico and Jerome. And then of course we have Zico and Mazuz there for TGF. LRN's Dylan and Casper here tonight. Of course, Elite Racing Teams is Dutch Trickies, and of course ERT Casper, they're representing them. Evolution Racing Team is here with Ipswich Checker and Kevin, and of course AMS with Ward and Lucas. Deluxe DLX is here with Alberto and Kalulu, and then of course CRE here with Hobbs, and of course Malbrach. I mean that is definitely going to trigger my Welsh. That is triggering my Welsh. I see a CH and I have to pronounce it that way. I can only apologize, guys. But yeah, we will be heading to the action out on track in just a moment's time, as we will be getting underway in due course. Of course, Jeddah again is a very interesting circuit in terms of the tire strategy. As I mentioned earlier, is very difficult, but here we go now to those 5 red lights on track to get us underway here in Jeddah. The 5 red lights are out, 25 laps await the drivers, and a very split grid in terms of the tyre compounds that everyone has gone for, as we got Hopes and Jerome there battling out side by side, and it looks like Jerome's going to lose out that spot there. But oh my god, down towards the back, look at that, Dylan and Dutch Trickies there falling down, and we have a virtual safety car, and we just saw there Ward's front wing flying off, hitting the inside curb at turn number 4. In fact, hitting the inside wall, I should say, at turn number 4, and he's missing a front left end plate on his car. In-game audio delayed by a year. Are you sure? Because it's not delayed in my ears, but Nordic Ninja, you have to let me know if it is massively delayed for you. I mean, it's not delayed for me in my ears. Okay, right, confirmation is all good for James's side, yeah. Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, it's out of sync if I go onto the broadcast camera. That's what it's looking like. When I'm on board on the TV pod camera, as we see Freddy there down the inside, what a move there from Freddy. It seems like if I go on board, it seems to be all in sync. If I go off board, we're quite out of sync here. Okay, right. So if it's out of sync, I'll do a quick little refresh on it right now. Oh god. Oh, for a second, and I thought my PC was about to freeze and crash. As we got Fleddy now going for the overtake into P1 with DRS. Job done for him, as you see in Hopes and Mr. Christie side by side. Let's Hopes here up in the P1, as you see Nico getting back through on Fleddy for the race lead on the run down to turn number 1 with DRS. Job done there for Nico. Hobbs there doing a good job getting himself up in the P3 ahead of Mr. Chris right now. Jerome there is currently sitting nice right now on the set of the hard compound tyres in P5. So it's looking good for Chris. I'm not sure what that was then, delay, because for me what I was hearing, it was in sync when I was on board. So I think that's an interesting one right there. As Marlborough has retired from the session, and that is a virtual safety car. And oh my god, I think he may have clipped the inside wall there at turn number 4, and that is his front left tyre completely gone off that car. The second virtual safety car of the session. No full course safety car as of yet, but 2 virtuals to get us underway here in console tier 2. But 2 big names already out of the session. Of course, Nick for IRT and Marlborough there as well. Not ideal for both of those teams, as absolutely heartbreaking for the pair of them. As we are back to green flag racing once again. On board with Fleddy, as he is all over the back of Nico here for the race lead. Keeping close to the back of Nico. Hopes is there as well, waiting for an opportunity, as the gap has split between P7 and P8, as it looks like Matsus and Casper, they spread out, and of course Ipswich Tech has spread out away from LRN Casper, and he's under pressure from AMS Lucas right there in behind. Of course, the 2 drivers that we have lost here tonight, of course IRT Nick, and of course Marlborough, who is of course racing for CRE here tonight, and of course 2 big losses for them, both in very high positions, as Hopes has actually managed to get through on Fleddy. So Hopes and Fleddy side by side on the exit of the final corner. We run down now to begin lap number 5. It looks like Fleddy is going to be able to get himself back ahead of Hopes. He's going to have a look at the inside now on Nico in towards turn number 1. Late break in there from Fleddy, keeps it within track limits, but will that compromise his exit out turn number 2? No, it will not, and Fleddy holds on to the race lead for the time being. But now we're seeing Hopes here getting himself into positions where he's trying to make these overtakes count, and look at the closing speed through the S's, through the fast left and right of the first sector there. Hopes not getting the best exit though on the end of that section. Looks like Fleddy though is doing very good to try and pull a gap, but in terms of ERS, it actually looks like Nico is in the worst spot right now in terms of ERS. Half a second is the gap between Nico and Fleddy here. In fact, over 6 tenths now, almost 7 tenths as we come towards the DRS detection point, and this will be where Hopes is going to try to line up a move here. as he'll turn to the inside for turn 22 as both of those goes side by side. They're going to cost each other time here by battling with each other, and Mr. Chris Boo is over the back thinking, this will be very opportunistic for me, and he's going to make it past one, and he's going to try and go for a second. He's going to go for a double overtake here into the final corner as Mr. Chris Boo unable to get that done. But you're seeing what this battling is doing is allowing Fleddy to get ahead, to get clear, and Durham is up there now into P4. So now OVR got two drivers up into the top four, and it looks like everything lines astern in towards turn number one as Nico able to stay ahead of Mr. Chris Boo. And this will be big now for Fleddy. If he can pull that gap outside of a second, he can actually now begin to pull away from these guys behind him. The gap 9/10 of a second, as it looks like Fleddy, I mean, he has the ERS advantage, and he could use a little bit of deployment here to try and build that gap, and he has used a bit of deployment actually. So Fleddy trying to break away. I don't think he's going to get away from these guys thus far, but he is close to it. In fact, actually, he might be able to. He might have just done it. No, Nico with DRS is going to be able to hold on to it, and he will close in on Fleddy down in towards turn 22. But you're seeing Fleddy, he's just so fluid through these corners versus Nico right now. But Nico still has DRS, he's still able to hold on. But for how much longer? That is the question as we come into the big end for the final corner. Has Nico got enough here to hold on to Fleddy? I don't think so. And that's going to open the door now. Mr. Chris Boo with DRS running down in towards turn number one. Mr. Chris, will he have a look at the inside line? No, he will not. But Nico runs a little bit deep through turn number one, compromising himself through turn number two. And now Mr. Chris with a better run. Potentially, it could look at the inside, but he's not going to risk it there. Good, smart there from Mr. Chris. As Fleddy can now begin to try and pull away from the field. And of course, all that battling has really bunched up the top seven now, as hoped at one point was in P2 in this race, and he is now all the way down to P7, so showing how quickly things can all turn around for you in this race, as it actually looks like Nico doing everything he can to get back within DRS range of Fleddy, but it's just not quite there as of yet. If anything, probably, I mean, obviously Nico right now is struggling to get back within DRS range of Fleddy. To not let Fleddy get away, it might be more beneficial for Mr. Chris Boo to get through, and Mr. Chris Boo is going to get through and up into P2 in this race, because he does have Durham in behind his teammate to back him up here. And then you got the DRS little switcheroo to try and catch up to Fleddy in this race, and that is exactly what I think is going on right now, as we got yellow flags in the back, and I think that is for Alberto there, who has lost it through turn 13 on the exit. He is able to continue on though. No safety car, virtual safety car deployed in this race, but heartbreak for Alberto. It's going to be a lonely race for him now, as he is all the way down at the back of the field in P18. Two DNFs in this race. Marlborough and of course Nick, both out of this race at this moment in time. Nico though, good sector one as he closes up to Fleddy, but he's not within DRS range, but he needs to get back within DRS range. He needs to find out where he's strong versus Fleddy around this circuit and find out where he's weak against him, so he can try and exploit the areas of where he's strong and try to really concentrate on the areas where he is weakest against him, try and get back within DRS range. However, it just seems that Fleddy right now is just in a commanding position, 1.5 seconds up the road, as now with DRS is going to be Mr. Chris Boo closing in on Nico, as well as Durham closing in on Mr. Chris, and they all stay in position for the time being. The entire top seven, none of them making any risky overtakes at this moment in the race. But here goes Mr. Chris Boo, gonna go through, as is Jerome. Jerome has a little peek down the inside, but it's not gonna risk it going down there, and takes a tight line through turn 2, but again, not gonna risk going for a move. Meanwhile, we have Hopes into the pit, early pit stop for a set of the hard compound tyres, and he is going to try to go for the undercut versus these guys. It might work to get ahead of this string. It'll be interesting to see if it's going to work to get ahead of Fleddy in this race, because Fleddy right now 1 second 1.1 up the road ahead of Mr. Chris Boo. As Mr. Chris Boo still 1.1 off the back of Fleddy, and we're going to see what Mr. Chris Boo's pace is like versus the IRT man, because what it seems is that Jerem is not as quick as his teammate Nico was, and of course we're seeing the gap begin to form now between Mr. Chris Boo and Jerem, and that is not ideal for Nico, who's under pressure now from Wezzle. Wezzle now up into P4. Job done there for Wezzle as he takes himself into P4. So it's second place and fourth place right now for FGE as they both come into the pits together and mirroring each other's strategy here, joined in with Mazuz, Casper. Who else will be diving into the pits? Will it be? Yeah, there we go. Ward's also going to dive into the pit lane, and I believe Kalublu is also going to be diving into the pits at the end of this lap as well on the set of the soft compound tyre. Yeah, I think OVR need to do a little bit of team orders here, because I think Jerem is holding up Nico, and I think they'd be better off with Nico kind of towing Jerem along in this race instead of it being the other way around. But right now, Fleddy 2.6 seconds up the road from these two, and the gap is only increasing. We should be seeing Fleddy into the pits at the end of this lap. Cover off the undercut, and it actually doesn't look like he's in. And Nico is now back ahead of Fleddy. Nico is now back ahead of Jerome, as Fleddy is 3 seconds up the road, and I don't know why, but I've got to put my phone on mute. So I'm getting all kinds of notifications right now coming through, which is not ideal. Lap 11 of 25, Fleddy 3 seconds clear in this race ahead of OVR. Nico in second place, Jerome there in third, Ipswich Tech as they're in fourth, Lucas in fifth, VRT Casper in sixth place. And then of course we've got Mr. Chris Boo, the first of the pit stoppers, in seventh place, with Matsus there in eighth place. Hopes there in ninth. He did get the undercut on some of the drivers, but not as good an undercut as he would have wanted. He's in ninth place, but Weasel there in 10th place. Element Casper on the back of Wesley there, so he's had a good pit stop phase, and he's up into P11. Of course, Wesley in P10. Dutch Trickies there in 12th place, and he gets a big snap at the rear. That's going to open things up for the man in P13, which is EVR's Kevin. As again we see the switch between the OVR drivers, and again Nico will be hoping that his teammate can maybe give him the toe back now, as you would expect the hard compound tyres to be the better tyre. Fleddy is into the pit lane. Going forward with Mr. Chris Boo, as he is on the run down now to the start finish line, crossing the line. begin lap number 12 for himself. Fleddy is in the pit lane. He's just coming out of the pits right now. He will pop out just ahead of Mr. Chris Boo, and the gap is 1.6, and Mr. Chris Boo with a 3-second time penalty as well. 1.8 the gap, so the overcut definitely seems more viable here. From the looks of things, the overcut more viable than the undercut here. At least in this race. But it will be interesting to see what strategy OVR Nico goes for. He's still in the set of the mediums that he started the race on. Will he be trying to stretch this out to a set of soft compound tyres? That will be the call. And of course, for everyone on the hard compound tyres, they have that little bit of a choice now. As Casper gets through on Ipswich Techers. Up into P4 now goes the ERT man. As again, we see a change between the OVR drivers, this time for the race lead. As it looks like Hope's able to really put a little bit of pressure on Matsus now, as he is fighting for P8 in this race. Effectively, depending on when Nico and Jerome come out, effectively is bare minimum is going to be a net P7, P6, P7 that these two are fighting for. As Casper closing up to the back of Lucas here for P3 in this race. Fleddy rapidly closing up to the back of this as well. He's 2.4 seconds off the back of this battle that is going on between Lucas, Casper and Ipswich Techers. Now this could hinder, but it also could help Fleddy as well. If he's able to make these overtakes count nice and quick, get through these guys ASAP, they could become a bit of a bottle there for Mr. Chris Boo in behind, if he's not able to dispatch these guys up ahead in as quick a fashion as Fleddy. Hope's now looking for a move for P8 in this race, and he gets the job done. Up into P8 he goes with DRS in towards turn number 1. Job done there for the CRE man, as he can try now to close down the gap to Mr. Chris Boo up ahead. I believe right now Hopes is in a net P3 in this race. So right now he's looking at a podium for CRE, and we'll see if he's able to continue on with this form. As you're seeing, these three drivers right now battling for P3 in this race, bunching up together with DRS, and you're seeing Fleddy on his fresh hard compound tyres closing in as well. And of course Mr. Chris Boo not too far behind him, and then not too far off the back of Mr. Chris Boo is of course Hopes and Matsus. And it does look like Nico potentially is trying to stretch out to a set of soft compound tyres, as we are on lap 14 of 25, and he is continuing on in this race. Lap 15, in comes Casper. Casper's into the pits at the end of the lap, at the end of lap 14, so he'll be beginning lap 15. He is on to a set of what I would imagine is going to be medium compound tyres to the end of this race. As Zico is out of this race, is that going to trigger a safety car? I don't think so. Looks like he lost it through 22 and 23 did Zico's As you see, Casper comes out of the pit lane in P13, but he's on fresh medium compound tyres now as he can begin his charge through the field into the top 10. And we're going to see if he's going to be able to do it here. Of course, he's looking for the undercut on both Lucas and Ipswich Techers. So he's looking to jump up 2 spots here. He's got Dutch Trickies up ahead, 1.3 up the road. And then of course he's got EVR's Kevin. So he's looking to try and get ahead of those 4 drivers and maybe try to put some inroads into LRN Casper. But that is an awfully big gap to try and close up there for ERT's Casper in this race. As here we go now, both OVR drivers are into the pit lane, and we're going to see how they get on in the pit stop phase. There is no double stack for those two, and as expected, soft compound tyres going on Nico's car and Jerem's as well. So they're opting for the aggressive soft compound tyres for the final stint in this race. Lap 16 or 25, Fleddy has retaken the race lead proper out on track as Lucas and the Ipswich Techers are also into the pit lane as well. And I think they are gonna, they've actually funneled out ahead of Casper. So Casper's had a big moment somewhere. He's not got those tyres switched on at all. He's had a big moment and he's lost out hugely to Lucas and Ipswich Techers here on the overcut. As there we go, OVR already on the attack on those soft compound tyres, and they are now going to charge through the field. The question is though, by the time they catch up to Fleddy, will those soft tyres be over and done with? That is the question. The gap between Mr. Chris Boo and Fleddy, 2 seconds the gap. 2.4 seconds between Hobbs and Mr. Chris Boo. And then of course there's 3 seconds between Wessel and of course Matsu's there in 4th and 5th, where of course we have Jerem and Nico now getting onto the back of Matsu's here for Wessel now for P5 and P6 respectively. As Matsu's gets the job done on Hobbs there up in the P3, he goes as Jerem's going to get through. Doesn't look like Nico's going to be able to follow him through down the start finish straight, which is not ideal for Nico, but we should be seeing Jerem now get away on those soft compound tyres, which will allow easy pickings here for Nico at the end of the first sector. Casper, the fastest lap of the race, was a 29.6, so showing his pace, but look at the gap between himself, Ipswich Techers and Lucas. I mean, he is 3.5 seconds off the back of Ipswich Techers, and Lucas is actually 5.6 seconds ahead of Ipswich Techers. I'm not sure what happened to Ipswich Techers here, but massive time loss here in the pit stop phases. And as you're seeing there, Wessel getting a little bit out of shape coming through the chicane of, I believe it was 16 and 17, and he just about holds on to DRS, but Nico will not be happy with that at all. But gets a much better run through 22 and 23. DRS wide open all over the back of Wessel here, running low on ERS is the OVR man as he's going to try around the outside in the final corner. A little bit of contact there on the exit, but all good for the pair run. And Kevin picks up a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. Lap 18 of 25. Fleddy leads the way. 2.2 the gap between himself and Mr. Chris Boo. Hops there in P3, half a second ahead of Matsu's there for TGF in P4. Then we got the OVR pairing of Jerem and Nico, really using those soft tyres to close up the gap on these guys in front. As we just see Lucas there picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for track limit extensions here in this race. course, at the same time, guys, we do have console tier 1 underway right now in qualifying as well. Of course, the incredible James Head taking me through the action there in console tier 1. As Jerome and Nico absolutely flying right now. You saw that gap come down by about half a second in this lap alone. Jerome and Nico absolutely on a charge right now on those soft compound tyres, and you're seeing Hobbs and Mazuz battling it out in the final corner. That is not going to help them versus these soft compound runners in behind, because they are charging now up the order. As you see the switcheroo for Nico and Jerem, and Nico now up ahead of his teammate and will be the first to attack these two hard runners in front. Lap 19 of 25 in this race. Fleddy leads away, 2.2 the gap. Mr. Chris Boo in second place. Has a time penalty. Casper's out the race. Casper's out the race. A virtual safety car deployed here in Jeddah. And it's at the inside wall at turn 4 again, claiming another victim. I think it is ERT Casper out of this race. We are down to 16 drivers remaining. The third virtual safety car of the evening. No full course safety car though thus far in this race, and I think if you are some of these drivers, you are hoping and praying for a full course safety car, but it is just not happening here for them. As the group DRS has been enabled and we are back to green flag racing once again. Looks like Freddie lost a bit of time on a virtual safety car restart as we begin lap 20 of 25. Mattuz gets through on Hobbs, and look at this, Nico wasting no time down the inside in towards turn number 1. A little bit of wheel to wheel contact there as the corner really tightened up there on OVR, Nico and Hobbs, but Nico flew up into P4. Big dive down the inside there from Nico, but he gets the job done. He's on the softer compound tyres, he's on the fresher of the tyres as well, and he just has that much pace. And it looked like as well that he got a fantastic restart there on the virtual safety car restart. As Dylan picks up a 3-second time penalty, followed very quickly by EVR's Kevin's, as we're now going to see Nico get through on Mazuz with DRS and run down in towards turn number 22. The OVR pairing on their soft compound tyres are making their way up the order. Remember, Mr. Chris Boo has a penalty to his name, so they are right now looking for a double OVR podium. Fleddy, of course, his teammate out in this race in Nick, who unfortunately retired very early on in proceedings, and he is carrying the flag right now for IRT. As here goes Nico now, he's going to fly through up into P3 as Jerome, unfortunately for him, has not been able to dispatch of Hobbs thus far, which means he is going to have to settle in behind these two for the entire first sector, which does mean that it's going to allow Nico to get away from Jerome in this race, and because of that, that might affect the ability of Jerome being able to get himself onto the podium. What you gotta remember is, guys, Mr. Chris Boo, 3 seconds of time penalties to his name right now, and the gap is 3.7 seconds. And it doesn't look like Nico is pulling away at the same rate that we saw earlier, as there is a car around in the first sector. Is that going to trigger a safety car perhaps? I don't know, but look at this. Nico gets overtaken by Hobbs and by Matthews, but he's able to defend from Matthews in this race thus far. But this is not what the OVR pairing want. They do not want their tyres to fall off right here and right now, because they're in a bit of a battle as Matthews there down the inside of Nico, but Nico able to defend as he parted the red seated in Matthews between Nico and Hobbs. And look at this now, Hobbs able to hold off on Jerem there for P5 as it is all getting spicy for this final podium pairing position. You're seeing the gap between Nico and Chris. It is extending. It is getting larger in this race, and I think these soft tyres are already falling away from the OVR pairing, as it looks like Hobbs down the inside of Matthews. Up in the P4 goes Hobbs again, and he's in prime position to try and get through on Nico. As you see, Matthews there again close to the back of Hobbs for the chicane of, I believe, 16 and 17. But now with DRS, we're going to see Hobbs make the move on Nico here, and his job done there. And will Matthews try and follow him through? No, he does not. But this does mean that Nico will have DRS to come back at him, and we're going to see if Nico is going to be able to hold on to P4. I think these tyres are gone, but you're seeing Jerem trying to fight Matthews there to try and back up his teammate, and he's down the inside into the final corner. Jerem gets the job done. Up into P5 goes Jerem, but on the exit, Matthews better traction, DRS better run as Nico gets back through on Hobbs as well. Up into P3 goes Nico. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing the battle for the podium really begin to spice up here. Nico with a 3-second time penalty, and that's him completely out of it now, unless he can find incredible pace on these soft corner tyres to pull away by 2.5 seconds in the remaining 2.5 laps that we have in this race. Time will tell. The gap is already 7 tenths of a second, 7.5 tenths of a second, as it looks like potentially Nico might have just found a little bit more pace in those soft compound tyres. But it does mean at best Nico is looking at a podium, and at worst he's looking to fall in behind not only his teammate Jerome in the 6th place, but look who's on the back of this train now. It is Wessel now on the back of this train, so he could fall all the way down to P7 in this race if he is not careful. Nico is under big pressure now, as he is towing along this train, and he is too far back away from Mr. Chris Boo and of course Freddy up ahead. But here comes Hobbs now with DRS, as he is going to look to try and get his job done. Down the inside he'll go into the final corner. The hards versus the soft compound tyres, and it looks like the hards have more grip right now than the softs. As you're seeing Matthews there get through, you're seeing Jerome get through, and will it be Wessel also getting through as well? Wessel looks down the inside, as does Jerome up ahead. We're seeing two moves simultaneously occur as Alberto with a 3-second time penalty. We have another car around in the first sector. Will that trigger anything in this race? Time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight for the podium is really getting spicy on the penultimate lap of the race. Hobbs, Jerome, Matthews, Nico, and of course Wessel here all fighting it out for that final podium position. Right now, Mr. Chris Boo seems to be in a comfortable P2 right now. Fleddy in a comfortable P1 right now. And these two look to be set in stone as it currently stands. But everyone else is really a who's who is going to finish ahead of who. That is exactly what we are looking at right now, as they are fighting absolutely tooth and nail here in this race. As it looks like Jerome with DRS is going to be under pressure from Matsu, and Matsu also gets through. Wessel gets through on Nico. Nico with that 3-second time. Oh, Nico down the inside of Wessel, and a little bit more contact made between the pair. And I think Wessel will just get through and up ahead, and he is gone. And we are on the final lap of the race now. Lap 25 of 25. It is Fleddy leads away. 3.8 seconds a gap to Mr. Chris Boo in second place. CRE Hops right now currently in P3, but will he stay there? Matt Zooks in P4 over the back of him. And then of course we got Jerem there in P5. He's going to be under pressure from Wetzel in P6. As you see, Nico with that 3-second time penalty, he is falling away at the back of this train. And he needs to hope that he does not pick up a puncher here on the final lap of the race. I have seen it happen before in the past where last lap puncher can really hurt some of the drivers out there. But it looks like Fleddy, we're going to go on board with actually, as Kevin, and that is Ward's out of this race. Another 2 fatalities here in Jeddah in terms of the grid, as we are now down to 15, in fact no, 14 runners remaining in this race. The casualties here have been very apparent, but we're going to go on board with Fleddy as he comes through the final corner for the final time, as you're seeing Wessel get through on Jerome as well for P5, but Fleddy will take victory for IRT, as we're going to revert now back to the action for the final podium position, as it looks like Hobbs has got enough to stay in P3, and it looks like Wessel has done enough to stay ahead of both OVR drivers. And to the line, Ipswich Techers and LRN Caspers battling it out for the final, the 2 spots here inside the top 10. It looks like Techers has done enough to hold on to P9, Casper in P10. Dutch Trickies will come through in a lonesome P11, 14 seconds off the back of Casper, but 21 seconds ahead of Kalu Blue there for DLX. To the line will come Kalu Blue now, and he is going to be crossing the line to take home P12 in this race. Alberto in a lonesome P13, but a P12, P13 finish for DLX. Not too bad from them. AMS with a good result for them, with Lucas up in P8. Wards was on for a good result, but a last lap DNF not ideal for them, but still Lucas picking up some good points there as LRN Dillon crosses the line in style, flicking the car around and drifting across the line. Wessel gets the in-game vote for driver of the day, but we are going to be running you through the order in just a moment's time as we head to the podium. As in the chat we have Sluffy Flipper saying Toothless is still here. We do like Toothless. Toothless is the dragon. We do like a dragon. But ladies and gentlemen, that man, IRT Fleddy, takes a victory here in Jeddah, and honestly his pace from early on looked impressive in qualifying. He had provisional pole position for quite some time before he got displaced, but in the race, once he got into the lead, he was able to find a way to break DRS, and once he broke DRS, there was no looking back for IRT Fleddy, and Fleddy doing absolutely incredible work there, as I hope we will get the opportunity to run through the results. If not, I'll have to go back on the stream and pick them up. I don't think we will be getting the results, which is unfortunate. But it's okay. I've gone back through the stream. Yeah, we didn't get out all that. But yeah, let's go back through the stream and of course bring you the final results here in Jeddah. It is IRT Fleddy who took victory ahead of Mr. Chris Boo in second place, with CRE Hops in P3 completing the podium, and he did that by half a second ahead of TGF's Matzus in P4. Wessel there in P5, and of course we had OVR Jerem in P6 with OVR Nigo in P7. AMS Lucas in P8 with Ipswich Techers in P9. LRN's Casper completing the top 10. Outside the top 10, we had Dutch Trickies in 11th, DLX and Kalu Blue in 12th place, with DLX's Alberto in 13th. And of course, the final finisher here tonight was LRN's Dylan in 14th place. And then we have our list of non-finishers here tonight of EVR's Kevin's, and then of course we have AMS's Ward, we have ERT Casper failing to see the checker flag, and then of course we got Zico also failing to see the checker flag, and then of course we have Marlborough H, and I definitely probably butchered that again. I'm saying it differently every single time, guys, but Marlborough in 19th place also failing to see the checker flag. And of course the first retiree of tonight was of course IRT Nick. So 6 drivers failing to see the checker flag. Heartbreaking for those 6 drivers, but 14 drivers get to the checker flag. IRT's Fleddy taking victory ahead of Mr. Chris Boo, and of course CRE's Hopes in P3 and 2 also completing the podium. The fastest lap of the race, and I don't believe I got the ability of seeing that, so we'll have to go back for the stream unless one of the drivers in the lobby was able to get a visual on who picked up the fastest lap here today. But looking at the calendar up ahead, of course we are now done with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here in Jeddah. Next week we head to the Netherlands. Is the Dutch Grand Prix as we head to the Zandvoort circuit on the 18th of September. Of course, Zandvoort, a iconic circuit on the F1 calendar. The bank curves, the bank corners are going to be very, very tricky for the drivers in terms of traction. And of course, we're going to see a lot of overtakes into turn 1 at Tarzan next week, that is for sure. And then after that, we'll be heading to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia for the Spanish Grand Prix, followed swiftly by the home of British Motorsport, which is of course the Silverstone circuit for the British Grand Prix. Then we head to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. And then we head to Qatar for round number 9, wrapping things up at round number 10 in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. There will be no podium interviews here tonight because I will be jumping straight into to Tier 1. But I'd like to thank every single one of you for tuning in here tonight. We will be back next week for more console Tier 2 action here in the Esports Masters League, of course, on League Racing TV. I have been Michael Edwards, and we'll catch you next week for more action. But if you want more racing, head on over to Tier 1 right now, where of course it's myself and James Head that will be taking you through the action. James Head, of course, already bringing you the action right now, and I'll be joining them in due course. But until next time, guys, goodbye for me.